Pheasant and Kingfisher, written by Catherine Bennett, illustrated by Aaron Raymond Meeks. My childhood memories are of my relatives in Cairns, Australia, telling me many stories about the bush. Some of these stories taught me about certain foods called bush tucker. Others taught me about the places I should stay away from because of the dangers there. Still other stories were similar to Pheasant and Kingfisher, teaching me how things came to be. Aaron Raymond Meeks. Long, long ago, two men came from far in the northwest from the other side of Bathurst and Melville Islands. One of them was called Book, the pheasant. The other one was called Beard, the kingfisher. Both of them carried fire sticks, and as they came along they set fire to the dry grass. Each night they made camp, and each morning they started off again. They walked on and on with their palm leaf baskets of fresh water to drink when the country was dry. It was a long way to travel, but at last they came to the place they wanted, where the bamboo spears grew beside the stream. They heard the bamboo streams whistle together, and the mosquitoes were thick down by the water, so they camped a little way off on higher ground. They stayed there for a long time. One day they would go hunting and bring back plenty of food, and the next day they would just stay in their camp. Often they would sing and dance together, and they were busy cutting bamboo spears with sharp points and carving spears with strong wooden blades. At last they had a visitor, a man called Najalamubu. I left a lot of men back that way, he told them. They are coming to kill you. This place belongs to them, and you should have asked them first before you cut all those bamboos. What are you going to do? They talked for a while, and the two men gave him food and meat before he went home. Then Book and Beard began to get ready. They were both clever men and had plenty of power, and they knew just what to do. Book painted himself all over with dark red clay and a little bit of white. Beard painted himself yellow. They made their spears straight and sharp and sat there waiting. Soon as they watched, they saw a crowd of armed men coming up to them. They stood up and began to throw their spears, but their spears were flying all over the camp. There were so many men all throwing spears that Book and Beard couldn't dodge them. They grew weak and short of breath. "Let's get away now," they said to each other. It was time for them to use their powers. Feathers were starting to come all over their bodies, and their arms were turning into wings. Book put bamboo spears and his spear thrower at his back, and they grew into a wide fan-shaped tail. Beard made his tail from a burning fire stick. Their enemies were now trying hard to spear them, but it was too late. The two men flew away from them high into the sky. They did not talk like men anymore. Book. Book was a pheasant now. Beard, his friend a kingfisher. As they flew, their enemies on the ground below them turned into stone. You can see them there today, but the two men turned into birds, and they still fly about calling out their own names. Pheasant and Kingfisher is one of hundreds of Aboriginal stories recorded by anthropologist Kathleen Bernard. While working in the north of Australia, she recorded them to learn how Aboriginal people think about their world. She wrote the stories in the local language, Gunwingu, and then carefully translated them into English. Some Aboriginal people have said, "The land owns us, we don't own the land." They feel that they are part of the land, and from the time they are children they learn the songs and stories about it. For thousands of years, these songs and stories have been part of the people's oral tradition and belief system. Aboriginal artist Aaron Raymond Meeks tells us how he illustrated the pheasant and the kingfisher. When Catherine Burnett approached me about illustrating the pheasant and the kingfisher, I asked myself what I could show of my culture through this story. I decided to fill the art with the symbols and images of Aboriginal people. I drew the river in the shape of a serpent, withering through the landscape. The serpent or rainbow snake is found in many Aboriginal stories. The Coolamon shown with the pheasant and river in serpent shape, rainbow snake, Coolamon. Kingfisher, as they travel, is a carved wooden container used by Aboriginal people for gathering food. The spear with barbs and the woomera, or spear thrower, are used for hunting. In some Aboriginal art, animals are drawn with lines that show how they are cut up for eating. Barramundi, a fish, as well as a kangaroo and a tortoise, are a few of the traditional foods Aboriginal people eat. Spear with barbs, woomera, cut up baramu, kangaroo, cut up for cooking, tortoise. For Kingfisher, I created feather designs on his body, a water design on his arms and legs. A pheasant who has a shorter beak also has the water design on his arms and legs. Kingfisher, Kingfisher dancing. I painted the picture for the pheasant and the kingfisher using colors I collected from the earth: red orche, yellow orche, white pipe clay, and charcoal. These colors are traditionally blended with orchard bulbs to produce sticky liquid which adheres to tree bark or bodies. At the end of the story, I showed how men, pheasant, and kingfisher were fighting changed into rocks. This is one way the rocky landscape was created in the Aboriginal stories. The men turning into rocks, the men after they are rocks.